Today I'm going to be sharing with you some more yummy, easy Great Depression recipes. Today the recipes are from Depression era recipes. I will leave this down below. This is from Patricia R. Wagner, and again, of course, the wonderful, amazing Clara from Clara's Kitchen. Aprons on, let's go. We're gonna make some cereal waffles. You'll need a cup of cold cooked oatmeal, 2 eggs, and we're gonna end up separating them, 1 cup of flour, a cup of milk, a tablespoon of baking powder, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So let's get going on these cereal waffles. Okay, we're gonna sift together the flour, salt, and baking powder. Okay, we're gonna add our egg yolks in, but we're going to separate these eggs. So I'm gonna put the egg whites in the bowl, and then we'll put our yolk in, because we still need the egg whites for this recipe. Boom, save that. Then we're gonna add our milk and our cold cereal, our oatmeal. And this was old-fashioned rolled oats. We're gonna beat well and get rid of the lumps. Okay. Now, I don't know how this oatmeal cannot have lumps. Now we have to beat the egg whites, and I'm gonna use my whisk beaters for this. So we do this until it becomes like a stiff froth, and then we could fold it into the batter. All right, I'm going with this consistency. Fold that in. This is folding. Guys, ever see Schitt's Creek and the set of the mom are cooking? It's like, fold in the cheese. And they don't know what fold means. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And she just keeps saying, fold in the cheese. It's hilarious. So now, anytime I fold something, I can't get that out of my head. Okay, I have my waffle iron greased up, and I'm not sure how much batter to put in, but I have a 1/2 cup here. Maybe I'll put a little more. I don't know. Okay, the first one's always a dud, so we'll see. Ooh, look at that. This is so good, you guys. Mmm. Yum. Add some fruit on top, strawberries, blueberries. Mmm. This is really good. And a great way to use up any oatmeal that you have. Wow, this is a definite keeper. Next up is ham and potato patties. So we'll need about 1.5 cups of leftover mashed potatoes, an egg, 1 cup of cooked ham, and we'll chop that up, 1 tablespoon of onion, which I couldn't tell if they wanted me to have chopped up onion. They didn't go into detail with the recipe, so I'm using onion powder, and some pepper. Okay, now I'm gonna just form it into patties. I feel like it could fall apart. I've seen other recipes online where people actually put flour in their mixture, but I wanted to follow this recipe to the T. So I'm just forming it into patties and then dipping that patty into the flour. And I'm gonna coat it really good. And then I'm gonna drop it in the oil. I'm using canola oil. The recipe says like bacon fat or lard. So I'm just using some canola oil, and I'm gonna get them golden brown on each side. Okay, here's the ham and potato patty. It smells amazing. It looks good. It does fall apart a little bit, so you have to be very gentle. So if you want to add more things to the inside to help keep it together, there's your suggestion. It tastes really good. I would definitely add more to it, but you know, at the time, during the Great Depression, you've got what you have on hand. I think if you had cheese on hand, put some cheese in there. Definitely maybe some of that fresh onion, but it was good. I really like this. Next up, we have what's called peanut butter bread. Doesn't that sound so good? I love peanut butter. So you'll need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 1/3 cup of milk, and 1/2 cup of peanut butter. Okay, we're gonna mix together our dry ingredients. I'm gonna give that a good little mix. Now that that's done, let's mix in the milk and the peanut butter. This recipe is from 1932 during the Great Depression. The cookbook the recipe was featured in is 5 Roses Flour, and it's a guide to good cooking. Just like the Great Depression cake, it uses few pantry staples, and it's also very easy to make and tastes great. I'm gonna mix that as best as I can. I'm noticing that it's kind of tough. It's thick, but it's a little tough. And I'm gonna try to mix this and get the peanut butter incorporated the best that I can. So I'm gonna grease my pan with some Crisco. I believe that was around during the Great Depression. So I am using this shortening to grease up my bread pan. In the meantime, have your oven preheated to 325 degrees. And this will bake for 1 hour. And there you have it, the peanut butter bread. This smells so good. It is absolutely delicious, and serve it up with some jam, strawberry, grape, whatever you have, and especially anything that's homemade. Yum. And it'll be like having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, my kids are gonna like this a lot, and I definitely think it's a recipe I will be keeping for a long time. One popular recipe during the Great Depression and war times was cream of tuna on toast. I remember having similar things like this when I was younger, and I absolutely love it. There's cream chicken, cream tuna, chicken a la king, and I love it over toast. And I haven't had this in a long time. So what you're gonna need is a 1/4 cup butter or margarine. We're using butter, a 1/4 cup of flour, a can of tuna that we're going to drain. Now anywhere from a cup to less of frozen peas. I did a 1/2 cup. You'll need some bread for toasting, salt and pepper, and 2 cups of milk. First, I want my peas to thaw, so I have them in some water, and then we'll drain them and then add them to the recipe. Okay, I'm starting to melt down my butter in a saucepan. I'm gonna open my can of tuna, and you guys were asking me what kind of can opener this is. This is from OXO, and it's fantastic. All right, our butter is melted. Now we're gonna add our flour and combine this. And then we wanna cook out that flour taste. Okay, next we're gonna slowly add in our milk and keep stirring so it doesn't get clumpy. Okay, I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. Okay, we're gonna add our tuna in. Our peas have thawed out, and now they're in. And now we're gonna cream all this together. I remember eating this as a kid. It was one of my favorite lunches. We mostly had it for lunches. So to give it a little more flavor, I added some garlic salt and some chicken bouillon. Now I'm not sure if back then if they did have the bouillon, but you could add chicken stock in here as well. Okay, it is done, and it is creamy and yummy. I actually added some onion powder to it, and it just finished it off beautifully. We just have some regular bread here. Homemade bread, it'd be delicious with French bread, biscuits. Kind of reminds me of my tuna pot pie mixture, and I kind of want to put like hard-boiled eggs in this. That just sounds so good. After the Great Depression, World War II started, and they actually would put eggs and do like a creamy egg as well. So, ooh, look at that. And there you have it, friends. Creamed tuna on toast. Now it's time for some dinner. So we're gonna roast a chicken. And this is from Clara's Kitchen. And then we're gonna end up using this chicken in a soup. So I have a 3-pound whole chicken here. And I'm gonna keep it very simple. I'm gonna be using some rosemary and thyme. olive oil and salt and pepper. So first I'm going to take the herbs, the rosemary and the thyme, and I'm going to drizzle some olive oil over them and sprinkle some salt and pepper. And then put that right into the cavity of the bird. Now I'm going to tie the legs of the chicken together. I'm trying to get it as tight as possible, and then I'll cut the excess off. And then I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of olive oil and just coat this chicken. Rub that all over it. Then I'll sprinkle with a thin coat of salt and pepper. Clara says that you could place the chicken on a V-rack, breast side down, and then put in the oven. So I'm actually cooking 2 of these chickens up, and I'm going to do one breast side down and breast side up and just see how it turns out. But I won't have the answer for you because I'll be having the other chicken on another day, so I couldn't tell you if one is better than the other. Okay, so my oven is preheated, and I'm also going to add about a cup of water to the bottom of my roasting pan. This will help collect all those gravy bits at the bottom. And this will roast for 25 to 30 minutes per pound, or about 2 hours. I could baste every 20 minutes if I want, but I'm just going to keep an eye and put a thermometer inside until it reads 180 degrees when the chicken's done. That's how you know. And if you don't have a thermometer, Clara says the poor man's way is just to cut into the thigh, and if the juices run clear, it is cooked. Look at that. Look how gorgeous. I'm just gonna let this chicken rest for about 20 minutes before I start working with it. So Clara from Clara's Kitchen, they grew up raising chickens. So they made sure that they had enough chickens for their eggs and then chickens to eat. And they would roast the chicken and have one side sometimes for one meal and the other side for another meal. But with raising their chickens, they used the whole chicken, the chicken feet, everything. And they would boil those and make stocks and broths with them. And back in the Great Depression, if they could raise the chickens, they would. And have those fresh farm eggs instead of getting them at the grocery store, because eggs were a huge commodity besides the chicken. That's why we see with baking in a lot of Great Depression recipes, they don't use eggs in a lot of things. And it works out really good. This is Clara's chicken soup with ditalini pasta. You'll need 4 quarts of water, 1/2 of a roasting chicken, 3 stalks celery, 4 carrots, 1 potato, 1 onion, salt, pepper, 1/2 of a can of sweet peas, and 1 cup of dry pasta. Now she uses the whole bird. She puts the whole bird in the pot. We're not doing that today. I will be adding some homemade chicken stock that I already have. I did this in the slow cooker, and we're gonna just put this chicken in and use the bones that are on the legs and the wings for this. I already peeled my carrots, but I'm gonna peel this potato, and then I'm going to dice it up. Then our celery is roughly chopped. The carrots are roughly chopped as well. Okay, we are slicing our onions. It's interesting for soup that she wants them sliced. I'm gonna add my quart of chicken stock in and a couple of quarts of water. So I did 3 quarts of water and 1 of the chicken stock. We're going to add the vegetables, except for the peas. Okay, and we're gonna need 6 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. Even though we're not doing the full chicken in here, I am gonna add, this is like that whole chicken. I didn't even use half of a roasting. So I'm gonna add all of that in here with it. We'll still get some really good stock from that chicken, especially the chicken that's on the bone. Okay, we're gonna put the cover on and let this simmer for about 90 minutes, she says. And we're gonna put the cover on, but leave it off so slightly for venting. And then the liquid we want to reduce by a half a quart. I'm gonna wait till this goes to a boil, and when it boils, I'm going to turn it down to simmer. I'm gonna add the ditalini. I'm gonna lift the chicken out and shred it and put it back in and take the bones out. And I'm gonna add the peas in. Okay, I'm gonna shred this or just clump it and then get it back in this pot. Okay, we're gonna add all that yummy chicken in. Oh, would you look at that? Now, can you imagine putting a raw whole chicken in that pot and just letting it do its thing? I'll serve this up with some of Ma's bread from Clara, and I shared that with you on the last video, and I'll have it linked below. It would go perfect with this. You know, it's a basic soup, but it's the basic things that just comfort us and make us feel good. This next recipe is crazy cake, or what some people call wacky cake. This is a delicious, simple chocolate cake recipe that has no eggs and no milk and bakes up into a moist, decadent cake. Have your oven preheated to 350 degrees. So you'll need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of white sugar, a ½ cup of unsweetened cocoa, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 cup vegetable oil, but I'm using canola oil, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1½ teaspoons of white vinegar, and not shown, you're going to need 1½ cups of water. We're gonna whisk together our dry ingredients. Okay, we're gonna add our wet ingredients. Okay, now that we've done that, we'll whisk this together until smooth. Okay, this is where your brain is gonna go nuts. It said an ungreased baking dish, so ungreased. Again, we're gonna bake it at a 350 degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm gonna let this cool. I'm actually gonna go put it on a rack and let it cool down. So I'm frosting this cake with just a carton of the good old Betty Crocker chocolate frosting. But if you wanna make your own frosting, enough to cover this pan, you're gonna need 1 stick of butter, 2½ cups of powdered sugar, 1/4 cup unsweetened cocoa powder, a 1/4 cup milk, and 1 teaspoon vanilla. Would you look at that? Look how moist that is. Okay, let's try this cake. That cake is so moist, not dry at all. Wow, this wacky cake is not wacky in my opinion, and it is a keeper. Also, if you missed the first Great Depression cooking video with Clara's Kitchen, I'll have that linked here. All right, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you soon. Bye.